The Liberals' review into their devastating 2022 election loss contains some harsh realities. Female voters abandoned the Liberal Party in their droves. Of the 30 seats around the country with the highest proportion of professional women voters, the Liberals did hold 15. Now they hold only 3. So what's the problem with the Liberal Party and women?
I'm pleased to inform you that Mr Abbott was sworn in by the Governor-General as Prime Minister of Australia at 10:25 a.m.
In 2013, Tony Abbott unveiled his first cabinet. Just one woman made the cut, Julie Bishop.
You look back and you go, well, that probably was the start of it. And if different decisions had been made back in 2013 with who was appointed into cabinet and we had built on that, then maybe the narrative that was formed by Labor would not have been able to have been made and would certainly have not developed.
I present your new ministers, and through you I present to the people of Australia their new government.
Well, you look back now on those early decisions of the Abbott government. How could they have got it so wrong?
Tony, we need you to put up a bomb.
Tony Abbott gave you name recognition in the most unusual way.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
One-term Liberal MP Fiona Scott now busies herself with bees, hives and sometimes regrets about the 2013 election campaign moment that left an unexpected sting. Was that a horrible moment?
Oh, it was awkward. It was really awkward.
On the trail in Western Sydney, Tony Abbott was asked about similarities between former member Jackie Kelly and the new candidate by his side.
They're young, they're feisty, I think I can probably say have a bit of sex appeal.
I think it was just a brain fart by Tony and he just misspoke. And I don't think it was anything. I think he was actually trying to be charming and nice about it, but I think it was then it got a life of its own where other people used it in bad ways.
They have a bit of sex appeal.
It's a silly comment, but I'm not sure post, Me Too and where we're at, you probably would have even got elected saying something like that now.
There's a theme that you could talk about with the Liberals in power, and it starts with Tony Abbott. It goes through Malcolm Turnbull dealing with Barnaby Joyce and the bonk ban, and then Scott Morrison, again, a problem with women and the Brittany Higgins case in particular.
Not far from here, such marches, even now, are being met with bullets, but not here in this country, Mr Speaker.
To what extent is this an ongoing problem for the Liberal Party, and to what extent is it something that's just weaponised against them by their political opponents?
Well, it's easily weaponised when it continues to happen, and it's easily weaponised when, these things haven't been dealt with continually.
I've put up with a lot as a woman in politics. Police charged a creepy old man with stalking me.
Nicole Flint is another former Liberal MP. She chose to turn her back on politics, trading stints in Canberra for working spells on the family farm in South Australia. Hard work, but nowhere near as tough as being branded a Conservative woman by Get Up and others in the 2019 campaign.
What we hadn't seen before, and I sincerely hope we never see again, was the influence of Get Up, because I became one of the 7 target MPs around the nation that they decided they would put their full resources into getting rid of.
How did that change life for you?
Dramatically.
A breaking point came when Nicole's campaign office was vandalised. The political attack was now brutally and offensively personal.
The horrific sexist vandalism of my office was completely demoralising.
What did they write on your office?
Skank, blow and go, $60 an hour.
Sexist abuse in public place. How did you feel as a woman dealing with that?
Oh, traumatised. No, Chris, I felt really unsafe. And I also felt really angry and frustrated because I am fiercely independent. I'm from the country. I'm very capable. We're very no-nonsense, you know. It's just
Did your
wrong.
political opponents stand up for you? Did you get any support from Labor calling this stuff off?
Of course not. No.
What about from your own side?
No.
Did Liberal politicians do enough to support you?
More could have been done.
Is there a cultural problem at Parliament House?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Men on the left, some of whom are public figures of influence, have done the following. They've stalked me, suggested I should be strangled, criticised the clothes I wear and the way I look, called me a whiny little bitch repeatedly. I didn't feel safe doing my job anymore in the manner in which I felt I needed to do it because things had been so weaponised against me. To the left, to get up Labor and the unions, the left-leaning media, you know exactly who you are. You need to finally show some leadership and put a stop to this sort of behaviour. If they don't, well, they're not really leaders then, are they?
And it was not only female Conservative MPs who were caught up in the murky world of sex and politics in Canberra. Some of their male colleagues were caught in the crosshairs.
Tonight on Four Corners, we go inside the Canberra bubble with an investigation that questions the conduct of some of the most senior politicians in the nation.
Liberal Party ministers like Christian Porter and Alan Tudge.
I made a mistake myself in getting involved with Miller in 2017.
Rochelle Miller was Alan Tudge's media advisor. In 2017, they had an affair.
We were both adults in our 40s, we were both married and had children, and it shouldn't have happened, so I take responsibility for that. Was it subsequently weaponised many years down the track? Undoubtedly. But ultimately, I made the mistake in the first instance, which I take responsibility for.
4 years later, Miller made allegations against Tudge in the media.
I felt someone kicking me on the side of my hip and leg as I tried to sit up in bed. It was the minister. Then I realised I was completely naked. He continued to kick me until I fell off the side of the bed and ended up on the floor.
An inquiry later found no evidence of abuse, but after Labor won office, the government paid Miller $650,000 in a workplace settlement for alleged hurt, distress and humiliation. Do you believe that there's any reason that she was owed compensation?
Well, she made allegations against me, which there was a very serious inquiry into by Vivian Tom, who's one of the most respected investigators in the country, who found no evidence against me. That's what I know, but you would have to ask the government why that payment was made.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Turnbull.
Appearing in the Four Corners report was former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull.
There's no question that some of the most trenchant opponents of same-sex marriage, all in the name of traditional marriage, were at the same time enthusiastic practitioners of traditional adultery.
Do you believe he was out to get you and Christian Porter and Scott Morrison?
I wouldn't be Robinson Crusoe in saying that Malcolm Turnbull is a vindictive person.
Four Corners next turned the spotlight on then Attorney General Christian Porter, airing claims he raped a 16-year-old schoolgirl, now deceased, more than 30 years ago when he was 17.
The things that are being claimed to have happened did not happen.
I think it was desperately unfair on him, desperately so.
They just never happened.
For accusations to be made from 35 years ago where he couldn't defend himself. And effectively made to be guilty before having any chance to assess otherwise.
It's extraordinary, on no evidence effectively. It's
No
extraordinary
evidence.
the media or the political system would allow this to happen.
Extraordinary.
Yet Malcolm Turnbull seemed to be pushing this along.
He was involved.
The former Education Minister believes he too was being targeted by Turnbull.
I think that says something about him more than it says about me.
It's not about who you voted for in leadership ballots?
Well, of course it is. Of course it is. Every single one of those people that were one of the 43 people on that list he has in his crosshairs.
He's still going through that list?
Absolutely.
And
he will for the rest of his life, Chris.
The ABC had lynched Alan Tudge and Christian Porter. There was a pattern here.
Well, it's very clear that the 2019 election win for the Liberal Party, led by Scott Morrison, was upsetting to many. It was, in the view of some, against the natural order. Well, I don't think it was.
Weaponise is a word now often used to describe sensitive matters being publicly amplified in party political battles. In the Me Too era, in the lead up to the last election, the Labor Party weaponised gender issues.
I was raped inside Parliament House by a colleague, and for so long it felt like the people around me only cared because of where it happened and what it might mean for them.
The Brittany Higgins story first came to us through the media in early 2021. This is what we know. Higgins claims fellow Liberal staffer Bruce Lerman raped her inside Linda Reynolds' Parliament House office in March 2019. Lerman denies the claim. Higgins laid a police complaint. Lerman was charged and the subsequent court case ended in chaos and the charge against Lerman was dropped. We'll most likely never know what really happened late on that Friday night, but the fallout is far-reaching.
I said this from day one in the Parliament. She never actually said to me that she was raped. Not once, ever.
Higgins maintains she did tell Reynolds about the alleged rape.
All walk together.
And within days of her going public with the allegations, Labor was sheeting it home to the then Defence Minister.
Senator Keneally.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds.
Leading the attack, the so-called mean girls, Labor senators, Christina Keneally.
Does the Minister accept that Ms. Higgins felt pressured not to proceed with her complaint to the police?
Katie Gallagher.
Just for your information, I don't think you should
Senator
hide
Gallagher,
behind Ms. Higgins
I've allowed you to make
by
your
refusing
point.
to answer these questions.
And Penny Wong.
Why has this minister so failed to meet her own standard? Why is she continuing the cover-up?
Every good political hit job needs a villain. And the truth just did not matter.
You were given a warning that this hit job was coming.
I was.
By a wonderful woman.
By an amazing woman.
That woman was Labor Senator Kimberley Kitching.
She said, "I'm so sorry, Linda, but I've got to tell you that Labor's about to rain hell on you in relation to the incident in your office a couple of years ago." She did the right thing. She did the kind thing.
I knew Kimberley. She's a wonderful woman. Was she being disloyal to her party when she did that?
I think she was following her conscience.
The Minister representing the Minister for Home Affairs, Senator Reynolds.
Labor's relentless pursuit of Linda Reynolds took its toll.
If I could ask Mr. President if I could have indulgence to answer this on Monday. I think I'd be in a better position to answer this on Monday. I will, if you can just give me a minute.
Right.
Or can I take it on notice?
Yep.
Thank you.
The whole world saw what it did to me. There is no worse thing that you can allege for any woman, that she has covered up the rape of another woman. And that's what they did day after day, and they knew it wasn't true.
Senator Wong, I really don't think we should be doing this here, but if you want me to do that.
Yes.
I was told by one of your senators 2 weeks before about what you were intending to do with the story in my office 2 weeks before.
Oh, I had no knowledge of this.
No one had any knowledge.
Okay.
I had no knowledge of this.
How dare you?
Order. Now we will
It's all
move.
about
we will
protecting
either,
yourself.
We may suspend.
Senator Gallagher has since admitted she did have foreknowledge of some of the Brittany Higgins allegations.
I was provided with information in the days before the allegations were first reported, and I did nothing with that information, absolutely nothing.
but she denies misleading Parliament over her knowledge of the rape claim. With Senator Wong, Gallagher maintains their questioning of Linda Reynolds was justified.
And they kept going, and then you could see the penny dropped with Penny and with Katie, and we took the discussion outside.
The penny dropped. They realised that Kimberley Kitching had warned you?
Well, they realised what I was talking about. Yep.
Some of Kimberley's friends believe all of the stress and strain of this contributed to her death. Is that what you think?
Yes.
In March 2022, Kimberley Kitching died suddenly of a heart attack. Her brief time in Parliament shrouded now by claims of bullying at the hands of colleagues.
There's a lot I could say about the unpleasantness of a cantankerous cabal, not all of them in Parliament, that was aimed at Kimber.
Did you go to Kimberley's funeral?
No.
Have you spoken to her husband?
No, I haven't.
Do you have any regrets about any of that?
Of course. I regret raising the issue, but it was self-preservation because you saw what they were doing to me and I gave them an opportunity to stop. But I had to preserve myself.
Look, this thing continues to drag on.
But you were attacked at the time. Linda Reynolds,
of course I was,
accused of covering up a rape inside, an alleged rape inside Parliament House.
Well, weaponisation of these types of things is quite despicable. It really is.
Because also the words that are swirling around in your head as a Liberal Party staffer at that point in time was, the Liberal Party's got a women problem. Yeah. And you were about to, you know, be the cherry on the top of the women problem cake. Yeah.
There was no issue that wouldn't be used.
Well, we know from the tapes that they were out to get you with these allegations.
We're up against not just the Labor Party. There were many more.
3 months out from the 2022 election, Scott Morrison stood in Parliament and apologised to Brittany Higgins.
I'm sorry to Ms Higgins for the terrible things that took place here. And the place that should have been a place of safety and contribution turned out to be a nightmare.
Did you see that as a slight against you?
I was devastated.
Did you not know he was going to make that apology? Tell us how it unfolded for you.
No, I didn't know he was going to do that. But again, the real damage was inflicted by Labor and the Me Too movement. And it was calculated, it was deliberate, and it was cruel.
Are you aware of how much that upset Linda Reynolds?
Yes, and we had a discussion about that, and I apologise for that to Linda.
It didn't assume that there had been a rape?
No, it did not, and still does not. I have no idea what happened that night.
But you know what happened in the politics of this issue?
Yes, I do, and I think that's becoming increasingly clear. Increasingly clear.
There were other forces at work who seriously wanted to use this as a weapon because they weren't making any inroads on the government at that stage. So they needed something to hang on to, and this became the thing, and it was tremendously successful. I mean, it completely and utterly derailed the Morrison government.
On April the 10th, 2022, Morrison called a general election.
This election is about you, no one else.
We are a great country, but we can be even better if we have a better government.
There were issues around women that were front and centre in the campaign.
Were they legitimate?
Well, they didn't have an impact. They absolutely had an impact on how the government was perceived, and they had an impact on the electorate's choice.
With the quickest results and best analysis, this is Election Night Live on Sky News.
Sky News has called it. Labor has won.
Labor went on to form a narrow majority government, but it was a disaster for the Liberals. they lost the clutch of blue ribbon seats to teal independents, delivering their worst result in half a century. Why did you lose the election?
Because the Labor Party and their fellow travellers had been able to completely diminish my standing in the face of the public.
It was a personal political attack?
Yeah.
You put the whole election result down to Labor's attack on you personally?
I would say it was the substantive contributor. Politics is brutal. I know about more than anyone else.